So hey, welcome to my video all about things to avoid when selecting your venue for your conference or event. Now in this video I am referring to slightly larger events, possibly about 100 people plus, that are using large amounts of equipment for their event. So number one on my list would be to avoid a large meeting room that is above ground floor at the hotel and that doesn't have direct access to it from outside. Not always possible, but if you can, it is much easier logistically and practically to use a room that is on the ground floor with access to direct outside loading area for your vans and lorries. Number two would be that if you did have to use a room that was above ground level, to avoid venues that do not have a proper service lift. And when I mean a proper service lift, we're looking the size of lift that you can fit a car in. It's going to take so much longer to get equipment to your room if it's a small passenger service lift and is always in use with the hotel at the same time. Number three is to avoid routes from the delivery area to where the equipment has got to be set up that has got very tight corridors or very tight corners, or that there's sort of blockages in those areas. Number four is to avoid booking a room that only has access via a stairway. It's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, to get certain bits of equipment up there if there's only stair access. My number five thing to avoid when booking the venue is single doorways to your room. Again, it restricts how much equipment could go in there. Ideally, you want a large or oversized double door access with folding doors that can be opened easily throughout your event. Number six would be to avoid rooms that have low ceilings. This can really make the room feel suppressed and won't be comfortable for anything more than a few hours. I would recommend having ceiling heights 3 meters or above, and certainly if you're planning to have anything like a stage set or production set put in there, if you can imagine a risen stage, if you've only got a sort of 8 to 9 foot ceiling, your people that are on the stage are always going to be touching the ceiling from the start. So 3 meters or more is what I would recommend, and avoid anything lower. The next thing I would avoid would be to have a large room that you're using for several days that doesn't have any air conditioning. Check with the hotel, have they got air conditioning, and check again, does it actually work properly? If so, I would ask them to put it on before you arrive so you get a feeling for just how that makes the room feel and how the controls work as well, whether they can make it a bit warmer, a bit colder, very quickly. Number 8 on my list of things to avoid would be venues that only have roadside parking for delivery and long-term parking. This can be one of the most awkward things for service suppliers, especially if they're all turning up at a similar time and there's very much a lack of space to deliver safely. The other thing, obviously roadside. I've been in a situation before in central London where the only place we could park was on the opposite side of the road, so we actually had to cross a very busy road as well with the equipment. It made it a very dangerous situation, not something that I'd do again now. So, connected to my point about roadside deliveries, number 9 thing to avoid would be venues that don't have a private open car park. It's so much easier for delivery companies, suppliers to be able to roll up to the hotel, park in a safe place and provide their service. It's understandable that in some situations they can't, in central London for example, where deliveries have to be made and then you can drive up to a mile around a block to find the nearest suitable car park for a van or a lorry, or again roadside, and then at the end of the night you have to walk a mile to go and pick the van up and bring it back. It's not so practical and could cost you as the client more money for this service. So always best to avoid venues that don't have a car park. Okay, my number 10 thing to avoid when booking a venue for your conference or event is to avoid venues, if you can, that have restrictions to when you can load and unload your equipment. I've had experience myself where we've turned up at an event for an evening event, in fact, and only to find out that we could not reload the equipment after 11 o'clock and before 7 a.m. the next morning. Well, the event was finishing at 12, there was no way we were going to stay, so it really affected the client's planning when we said we got to leave before 11. So avoid venues that have restrictions to when you can load and unload. And there you have it, 10 things to avoid when selecting your venue for your event or conference. Now, it may not always be possible to get venues that tick all of those boxes. However, if you can use them as a guideline for considerations when booking your event, I think you're going to have much better results later on down the line. I hope you found it useful. Please, as always, do like, comment and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back with some more nuggets of information about event management very soon. I'm John Hewlett. Thanks for now. Bye bye.